Good morning, students. Today we are going to do the novel The Adventures of Pinocchio. It is by Gallo Collodi. Pinocchio is a wooden boy who is very naughty. So this story starts from chapter 1, where we are introduced about Master Antonio, who is also called Master Cherry because the tip of his nose is as red and round and ripe like a cherry. So this Master Cherry brings a piece of wood home to make a table. So when he starts working on that wood, he hears some sounds like of laughing and giggling, and he looks all around his house to find who is there, and even outside the door and the window, but he finds no one, and he realizes that this log of wood is talking to him and he is frightened. In the second chapter, we are introduced about Master Geppetto. He is also a carpenter and he wants to make a marionette to earn money to make himself a fortune. So he comes to Antonio and asks for a piece of wood. So Master Geppetto, he wears a yellow colored wig and is teased as Polendina by the naughty children living around his house. So that log of wood calls him Polendina and he gets angry thinking that Antonio or Cherry is calling him this. So they both start fighting and they give slaps and blows and take out each other's wig, and after fighting they again become friends. So Master Antonio gladly gives him that piece of wood and is very glad that he has got rid of that talking wood. Then in the next chapter, Geppetto brings the log of wood home and he starts working on it to make it a marionette. First, he cuts out the shape of the marionette and names him Pinocchio because he thinks that this name would make him fortune. So he starts working on the Pinocchio and he makes his hair and head and forehead and eyes. And when they say makes his eyes, the eyes start moving and stare at Geppetto. Then he makes his nose and it stretches and stretches till it becomes endless. But Geppetto keeps working on it. He then makes his chin, his tongue, his neck, shoulders, stomach, and hands. And when he made his hands, the marionette takes his wig, but still fights with him and then again starts making his legs. And as soon as Geppetto has made Pinocchio's legs, Pinocchio runs out of the house. Geppetto runs after him to catch him and is shouting on all the way, "Catch that boy, catch that boy." There a military policeman passing by, a carabiner is a military policeman passing by. He got hold of that boy and hands him back to Geppetto. So Geppetto says that you're a very naughty child, you're troubling me. And when he tries to pull his ears, he notices that he has not made his ears. So he holds Geppetto by his neck and says, "Get back home and I'll settle this matter with you." So while he is taking back home, Pinocchio falls on the ground and Geppetto is holding him, and the people passing by are saying that this Geppetto is a very cruel man. He'll beat this wood, he'll tear him into pieces. He is not a good man. He will surely break this marionette. So that military policeman, he hears this and he frees Pinocchio from him and he makes Pinocchio run away and takes Geppetto to the prison. In the next chapter, so Pinocchio runs away and Geppetto lands himself in the prison. So when Pinocchio is tired of moving here and there, he comes back home and he is very happy to be alone in the house. So when he comes to the house, he sees a cricket, talking cricket. Cricket is an insect. So that cricket, he is living in the house for about 100 years, and he says to Pinocchio that you have done very bad thing, that you have made your father land in the prison and scolds him and says him that you are a very bad boy. He says that if you really want to help your father, you must uh, work somewhere or work to help him if you do not want to go to school. So Pinocchio did not like what talking cricket is saying to him, so he loses his temper and he throws a hammer at the cricket and kills it. So in the next chapter, the cricket is dead and Pinocchio is really scared, but he soon recovers. So Pinocchio is now feeling hungry, but there is nothing to eat, so he laments. Laments means he feels sorry that he had behaved himself and his father is in the prison, otherwise he would have surely given him something to eat. So he looks for something and finds an egg, but he doesn't know how to make an egg. He breaks it. So he breaks it, and from that egg a chick comes out, and it thanks Pinocchio for letting him out of the egg and flies away. So Pinocchio is hungry and he has no food, so he decides to go to the nearby village to find food. So when he reaches the village, he finds that all the doors and the windows of the houses and shops are closed. So he rings a bell of one of the houses. An old man opens the window and wants to know what Pinocchio wants at this time. So when Pinocchio says that he wants food, he thinks that Pinocchio is the boy who troubles people at night. He pours a bucket of ice cold water on him. So Pinocchio returns home and he sits beside the stove, the fire, to dry himself. And he falls asleep there, and his feet get burnt and turned to ashes. So in the morning, Pinocchio hears a knock on the door, and who is knocking there? Geppetto. So Pinocchio, who is still half asleep, he doesn't know that his feet has burnt. When he hears the voice of Geppetto, he wants to get up and open the door, and he is happy to hear his voice, but he sees that he can't move. So Geppetto is again knocking at the door and asking Pinocchio to open the door. And the marionette tells him that he is unable to open the door because he has no feet. So Geppetto thinks that Pinocchio is playing another prank on him. So he comes into the house through a window and wants to give a beating to Marionette. But when Geppetto sees him stretched on the floor and trying to reach the door, he holds the Marionette and is very sorry for him. He loves him, and when he comes to know about Pinocchio's adventures when he was in prison, and Pinocchio is sorry for what he did. So Geppetto gives him 3 pears to eat, and Pinocchio eats them. He eats them. Now he is not more hungry, and he said that he wanted a new pair of feet. So Geppetto says that okay, I will give you a new pair of feet, but promise that you will go to the school. Pinocchio says okay, I will go to the school. So Geppetto makes him feet, and then he makes clothes for Pinocchio of flat paper coat, shoes out of the bark, and a cap of the dough to wear them to school. Now Pinocchio wants a book but does not have any, so Geppetto sells his old coat to buy a book for Pinocchio, and Pinocchio is very happy that though it is cold, my father has sold my coat for me so that I can have my book. So Pinocchio is very happy. So the next morning he dresses himself and takes the book and starts walking towards the school. So while he is walking towards the school, he hears some noises of a drum and a trumpet. So he is thinking on the way that he will go to school today. He will learn to read, and then he will learn to write, and then he will learn to do the sums, and then he will help his father to earn money. Hearing the sounds, he is distracted by them and walks towards the lane and thinks that he will go to the school tomorrow. So when he reaches there, he comes to know that there is a show at the Great Marionette Theatre, and it is for 4 pennies. So Pinocchio asks a boy that, will you lend me 4 pennies? The boy says, why should I lend you 4 pennies? First you give me something so that I can lend you money. So Pinocchio says, okay, you take my coat. He says, what I will do of your paper coat? It will get wet and turn off. You take my take my shoes. The boy says, no, I can't take your cap, I can't take your shoes, they're of no use to me. So there's a rug picker and he says, okay, I'll give you 4 pennies, but you'll have to give me this book. So Pinocchio is worried that his father is without coat and he has given his coat to buy him a book. So Pinocchio says okay, because he is really excited to see the show, and so he gives him his book, takes the 4 pennies and buys a ticket to watch the show. So this is the story in the 9 chapters.